Hey, Spring Arbor students. This is Dr. Jim Dolson. Please call me Jim. And I'm the instructor, the professor for MBA602 and MBA694, the Living Case Study. These are companion courses, and so I thought I'd do one video, introduction video for both. That way you won't have to look at two different ones, and I won't have to make two different ones. I'm sitting here at my home on the front porch. It's about 90 degrees outside, so it's feeling pleasant in the shade, but not so much out in the sun. Hey, listen, a little bit about me as we get going here. If you took the time to watch the video in Blackboard about my bio, then you pretty much know my story and kind of know a little bit about me. But that video is it's about a year old now, and so I'll give you a quick update on that. I'm no longer the superintendent at Jackson Christian School. I resigned from that position as of June 1st of this year, 2016. And I now work at a staffing and recruiting company here in my hometown of Jackson, Michigan. I work on organizational and development issues and helping that company grow. I'm also interested in doing personal research around leaders, and in particular Christian leaders and business leaders and that sort of thing. On a personal level, my wife and I now have 5 grandchildren. I think in the video, maybe I said I had 3 or so. So our family's grown since that video has been made. All right, so enough about me. Let's first talk about MBA 602. MBA 602 is officially called, let me get back to my script here, is officially called Business Decision Making and Analysis. Now, don't let that fool you. This is a master's level statistics course, okay? We've just kind of shrouded it with a simpler name. But don't fear, we're going to get through this together. This course is a survey of two different kinds of statistical analysis, descriptive statistics and inferential statistics. I think it mentions in the course syllabus a little bit about qualitative analysis. We're going to touch on that, but not very much. My doctorate degree was in qualitative analysis, so I know quite a bit about that. But man, I had to take a lot of stats courses as well, so this is all familiar ground to me. Those sound like complex challenges, don't they? Descriptive statistics and inferential statistics. We're going to get through them together. For week 1, just follow the syllabus assignments, and you're going to do just fine. We'll get to some meatier topics as we get into weeks 2 through 7. Okay, about 694, the Living Case Study research. This course, MBA 694, is the 4th of 9 Living Case Study research courses that you'll be taking as part of your MBA program. If someone has not explained this to you yet, let me just do so for you really briefly here. You're getting ready to conduct business research using an applied research methodology. I'm going to discourage you to stay away from action research, which is an intervention to fix a problem, and instead focus on applied research. Applied research is kind of research where you identify an organizational problem, you research it, do the lit review and whatnot, and you come up with recommendations for your employer or your host organization. I think with the time we have in these courses, that's a little more reasonable. Your research will be around a problem that you've observed at your host organization, which you should have already identified. As you develop your project, implement solutions, or rather identify solutions and analyze your results, you're writing a 5-chapter thesis paper, a research document. Briefly, chapter 1 is the introduction, and that's what you're doing in this course, is chapter 1. In future courses, the LCS course study, you'll be doing chapter 2, which is the lit review, chapter 3, which is a review and description of the methodology that you're going to be using to collect your data. Chapter 4 is the analysis chapter, where you describe your analysis and some of your findings. And if you use numerical data analysis, then this particular course, MBA 602, the stats class, is going to be particularly important to you. Chapter 5 is the conclusion and recommendations chapter. So more to come on all these, but I just wanted to give you kind of a basic outline of what's coming your way. I noticed in Blackboard for MBA 694, there was a roadmap document. I think it was in class basics or class materials. Take a look at that. It kind of gives you a pretty good feel. Your paper is going to be anywhere from 50 to 80 pages. Some maybe a little bit longer, some a little bit less. And the style of that paper, the research paper, will be following the APA guidelines. So again, in this course, we're focused primarily on chapter 1, the introduction, that is the MBA 694 course. I'll supply you a writing template for your thesis. idea of the template is as you complete and go through these assigned courses with me, you'll be with me now from LCS 690, MBA 694 to the end. So I'll be with you the whole distance here. And as you go through, the idea is to continually update the research template that I'm going to provide to you in the next couple of weeks. So as you go through the 694, 695, these LCS courses, you're going to be by default and a little at a time incrementally completing your research thesis paper. So not to worry. By the time you get down to LCS course number 9, your paper will be nearly completed, just done incrementally. So you won't be coming down to the last course and then having to write this huge paper. It's going to be more of an edit, change, update, add to kind of as we go. So don't be intimidated by the process. This is not the first rodeo I've been down on this one, and I've helped a lot of students get through this, and you can make it too. Let's talk about APA for a moment. In case you haven't heard, I'm a stickler about APA. I just am. I think at this point in our lives and our careers, we ought to be able to follow some detailed instructions about how to write. And APA is one of those. It's not always very friendly, to be frank, but it is something that we have to follow. So get the APA manual and follow it religiously. Do not assume that you know APA. Check it out. Don't be sloppy with it. I'm just telling you now, I've had a few people complain about my exactness in this area, and at least one that I know that's dropped my section because of my emphasis on APA. That's okay. My goal is to make you a better writer, and I will not apologize for that goal. Okay, you will be a better writer if you stick with me. I'm going to provide templates when possible, again, to write your paper. Generally speaking, the templates have been vetted. I've used them. They follow the most recent APA guidelines. But again, if I make a mistake, and it's possible, please feel free to call me out on it. I'm not going to mark you down on a mistake that I made in the template. But I will. I'm going to follow the rubric pretty carefully about writing. So make sure in the back of the syllabus you're looking at that rubric on how to write. Okay, because I will mark you down per that rubric, and I do follow it very closely. So, for example, if you have even one spelling error, then a portion of your writing gets dropped down per the rubric. That sounds pretty harsh, doesn't it? But you know what? There isn't any of us that should be making any spelling errors at this point if you're using Microsoft Word. All right? There's simply no reason whatsoever that you'd have a spelling error, a punctuation error, or even a grammar error. If you're using Microsoft Word and you have the proofing attributes turned on, you're going to be just fine. I would say regarding the grammar errors, I do allow for one grammar error because it's hard to get around. It's called passive sentences. So as long as you don't overdo it on passive sentences and you're not constantly using them, I'm going to let some of that slide. And if you don't know what it is, look it up, but you're probably already using it when you write. A note about the length of your thesis paper versus the quality. I'm a very detailed writer, almost to a fault, to be honest with you. And I have an engineering background, so I have a lot of that in me to be detailed and precise. But when you write, sometimes you just have to do it clearer and more concisely, shorter, and essentially trading detail for conciseness. You don't want to lose your reader through this process. So I'm going to challenge you to write clearly and concisely. A longer paper with a mountain of detail will not necessarily yield you a better grade from me. Okay? A paper written to the assignment length with thoughtful and clear and grammatically correct statements written in APA format going to likely get you 100%. By the way, very few people, I'm just going to tell you now, very few people get 100% on their writing assignments in the beginning of my courses. Now, I want you to learn how to write a good, solid APA paper. You're in an MBA program, and you're going to write well. You're just going to. I'm not going to let you slide on us. I'm going to call you out when there's bad writing. I'm going to grade you per the rubric. But you will get better. Most of you will get better. Some of you may never get 100% on a paper in this course, but I don't want you to worry about that. I'm also very fair with those who I know are trying and are showing improvement. All right, weekly devotionals. Each week, I will put out a PowerPoint devotional. It's an audio overlay on top of some slides. These are presentations that I put together on leadership, godly leadership to be specific, for some previous SAU courses. And I'll never know if you watch them or not, and there's no grade associated with watching these videos. They're just extra that I put together for these courses, and I hope that they may help you understand leadership, in particular, godly leadership. About my availability throughout the week, I've tried keeping my availability to a specific time, so many dates and that sort of thing. Frankly, just can't do it. Our needs between all 13 of you in two different courses, two different, different schedules for everybody. It's likely going to be in different time zones because you're not all in the Eastern time zone, I don't think. So I try to be available anytime. I work early in the morning to about 5 p.m. So if I can answer a question throughout the day as I get them from you, I'm going to try to answer that. But I'm also going to honor my time with my employer. Otherwise, it's going to be in the evening time. Different forms of communication. I prefer Zoom. I love being able to go face to face with any of you and just talk with you. And so if you're a student at SAU, and you are, you have Zoom available to you. I use it a lot. Phone calls are good, but face-to-face and Zoom adds another level of personableness that you can't get in just a phone conversation, and certainly not in an email. And I'm going to answer emails, of course, but Zoom is always a good way if you want to spend about 15, 20 minutes together. That's a great way to do it. Again, I do phone calls and emails. They'll have to do sometimes. I get it. Text only if it's very short, yes or no questions with me. Grading papers and projects. Your work for both classes is due on Sunday night. I think you're used to that by now. And frankly, with 13 of you, that's 26 projects or papers per week that I need to get through in short order between the two classes. Sometimes I'm going to be thorough and sometimes not so much. I'll make every attempt to get you feedback by midweek, Wednesday, Thursday after your paper is due. Sometimes before, but don't count on it. I'm balancing the thoroughness of feedback to you against the timeliness of feedback. So two variables. Thoroughness of feedback and timely feedback are two variables I'm trying to balance, and they're not always friends with each other. Let's talk about timeliness of your assignments for a moment. If you know you're going to miss an assignment deadline, let me know. Let me know when you're going to get it done. Let me know what your plan is to recover. If you're going to miss an assignment for a legitimate reason, contact me, email me, say, hey, Mr. Olson or Jim, I go by Jim. I'm going to miss this deadline, but here's my plan to get it caught back up. I want a plan if you're going to miss. I know life happens, and sometimes you go into a triage mode, and you have to make choices about what part of life is you're going to be on time with, and what part of life you're going to be delayed with. So I get it. It happens to me. You cannot always delay, though, SAU work, but I certainly understand when it happens. My only request, again, is let me know early and let me know your recovery plan. If you do not communicate with me, I'm taking points off per the syllabus. I have some leniency, but I am not tolerant of late assignments without communication. We are adults. We work in a professional environment. That's expected of us in the work world when we're going to be late, and it's expected in this course as well. So if you know you're going to be late, contact me. Better be a legitimate reason, though, okay? And it can't be happening very often. All right, let's see. Communicating late papers and deliverables with no notification is something I don't think you tolerate at work either, okay? Here's the bottom line. If you're going to be late, let me know again as soon as you know, and let me know your plan to recover and make it back up. And I won't mark you down if that happens. Okay, I think that's it for now. It's quite a bit to absorb. Hope your week goes well. Be sure to reach out to me with questions. And I'm praying for you guys. I've got your names. I'm praying for you. And remember, God is on his throne. He really is. He's always been there. He's always going to be there. And he's here for us. All right. Hey, have a great week. I'll talk to you later.